Hi, this is Dr. Edwin. Today I am going to discuss about how to identify and examine TMD patients. Patients usually complain of difficulty in mouth opening or clicking sound or locked jaw. That means difficulty in closing the mouth. But when you talk to the patients and ask about their history in detail, they will also be suffering from lots of pains. They will be having headache, neck pain, shoulder pain, ear pain, or even numbness, tinnitus, lack of sleep, or burning sensation. But they will not be disclosing any of these symptoms to a dentist. That is mainly because they think these symptoms have nothing to do with a dentist, or they would have already been diagnosed for their symptoms. They would have been usually labeled as spondylitis, migraine, sinusitis, or myopia by various medical faculties. Because of that, they will not concentrate on all symptoms and they will think the treatment is ongoing for their particular problem. But if you ask those patients again, you can find out most of the patients who is undergoing treatment for all the symptoms will not be cured. Very minimal percentage of patients would have been corrected by these treatments. So it indicates that most of the patients will be a temporomandibular disorder patients who's been misdiagnosed as spondylitis, migraine, sinusitis or myopia. So it is the duty of a dentist to identify those patients and give proper treatment. These are the few common dental findings which you see in temporomandibular disorder patients. Class 2 Division 2 or patients with narrow arch, high arched palate, retrognathic mandible, dropping of bicuspid, deep bite, lack of anterior and canine guidance. In my experience, I have seen most of the temporomandibular patients have at least two of these clinical findings. But if you ask me whether all the deep bite patients or narrow arch patients will go for temporomandibular disorder, it's no. That is mainly because these type of patients are more prone for temporomandibular disorders, but not always. So they always need a triggering factor to become a temporomandibular disorder patients. And those triggering factors can be any of these. For example, if a patient with a deep bite or lack of anterior guidance met with a trauma, then they can go for a temporomandibular disorder. Or if they develop an unilateral chewing habit or bruxism, clenching, or if they have a sleep disorder or sedentary lifestyle or any other chronic systemic disorders, then they can eventually end up with temporomandibular disorder. In some cases, even their dental history can provoke them for a temporomandibular disorders. If they are undergoing multiple dental procedures in an improper way, or if they are going for a fixed orthodontic appliances but not getting corrected properly, or if they are going for fixed partial dentures or multiple extractions without replacing the particular tooth, can trigger them to fall into a temporomandibular disorders. Temporomandibular disorder is progressive in nature. Usually, most of the patients will follow this cycle. Their problem would have started with clicking, then slowly it progresses to deviation, and then difficulty in chewing, and finally, which restricts the mouth opening. Usually, in this stage, patient will visit to a dentist because of a restricted mouth opening or pain in TMJ region. Some cases, if the patient neglects to visit a dentist for their problem, it can eventually lead to headache, ear pain, neck pain, back pain and shoulder pain also. So once you identify this patient and if you start treating them, usually their symptom disappears in a reverse order. Their back pain, ear pain and all other radiating pain will disappear first, and towards the end they will be relieved from deviation and clicking. So this is the normal cycle which happens in most of the temporomandibular disorder patients. So it is wiser to break the cycle in the earlier stage than making it more chronic. After the questioning session and detailed history, examination of TMJ has to be done in a very detailed manner. It is wiser to start to examine the TMJ region first, and it can be done in an easier way by going behind the patient or in front of the patient. Just hold the preauricular region bilaterally and palpate that area for any tenderness. Usually TMD patients will have tenderness in that particular region. And then slowly hold that area and ask the patient to open the mouth. Then you can find out whether patient is having any tenderness while opening the mouth. And also when patient is opening the mouth, look for the movement of the lower jaw. Some patients will have deviation as it is shown in the first diagram. That means her lower jaw will move towards the left side or right side in the midway of their opening, and towards the end it comes to the midline. And when they are closing, again it follows the same path. This is called as deviation. In other rare cases, when the patient is opening the mouth, the jaw will slide towards one particular side, either left or right. And when they are fully open their mouth, it will be most probably in the left or right. And when they are closing, again it follows the same path. So this is called as deflection. The first type, that is the deviation, is the one which we are going to commonly see in all the temporomandibular disorder patients. And then always measure the mouth opening. Mouth opening has to be measured in two contexts. One, the ability of the patient to open the mouth at ease without any effort or pain. And then ask the patient to open the mouth to the maximum with some force. Then measure it separately. So these two measurements has to be checked before treatment and after treatment. Usually the mouth opening will be between 35 to 45 millimeter, or in otherwise the 3 fingers of the patients should easily enter inside the patient's mouth. If it is anything lesser than that, that indicates that patient has a restricted mouth opening. After the examination of TMJ, muscles of mastication has to be examined. You can start examining the masseter first, as it is easier to do extraorally. As you can see, you can palpate the muscle from either behind the patient or in front of the patient. Bilaterally, you have to hold the patient mainly in the ramus region and ask the patient to clench. When they are clenching, the masseter becomes more prominent and easier to identify. Check for any trigger points in that area by palpating the entire region of masseter. And also check for the bulkiness. Mostly if the patient is having the habit of unilateral chewing, that particular side, the masseter will be hypertrophied. In otherwise, the masseter will be more bulkier on the unilateral chewing side. So this gives information about which side the patient is using more or which side probably would have got affected. The temporalis can be examined by palpating the temporal region of the patient bilaterally. Usually, trigger point will not be seen in that particular region, but patient always gives a history of headache mainly in that particular region. And some patients will have a neck ache, so always examine the sternocleidomastoid, which runs obliquely on both the side of the neck. If patient is having any tenderness in that particular region, usually patients will be having restricted neck movements. To palpate the lateral pterygoid muscle, we should be running our index finger over the alveolar ridge, and when you are about to reach the maxillary tuberosity, you have to slightly bend your finger so that you go behind the maxillary tuberosity and palpate there. And that is the region where we can find whether the lateral pterygoid is tender or not. So from front it will be like this, you are inserting a finger, and towards the end you will be slightly bending it. Okay. The reason behind that is we have a lateral pterygoid plate behind the maxillary tuberosity, and this is where we have the lateral pterygoid muscle attached to. Okay, but we can't reach the finger till that aspect, so we are trying to palpate the anterior aspect of the lateral pterygoid muscle when you are reaching behind the maxillary tuberosity. So you have to run your finger like this and slightly bend when you are about to reach the maxillary tuberosity region. Okay, and when you are doing this, always remember, ask the patient to slightly open up the mouth when you are doing it. Otherwise what will happen is, if the patient's mouth is too closed, your coronoid process will be hindering from your finger to enter inside. Okay, so always adjust your patient's mouth opening little wider or little less so that you can enter inside and palpate it. To palpate the temporalis muscle, what you have to do is, you have to ask the patient to open the mouth and you run your finger over the ascending portion of the ramus. Okay, and when you reach the top, you will be able to reach the tip of the coronoid process, and you have to palpate the medial aspect of the coronoid process. Okay, always run your finger like this and then reach the medial aspect of the coronoid process. Okay, so that is where we have the attachment of temporalis. Okay, so when you are doing it like this, when you are tilting your finger like this and palpating behind the maxillary tuberosity, we are palpating the lateral pterygoid muscle. But when you are turning your finger like this and palpating, you will be able to feel the bony structure, that is the tip of the coronoid process, where we have temporalis muscle insertion. Okay, so these are the two muscles which is very important and always gets affected, especially in the temporomandibular disorders. Okay, to palpate the medial pterygoid muscle, ask the patient to open the mouth, and you have to again run your index finger below the mylohyoid ridge. Okay, in the internal aspect of the mandible, if you see, you have a bony prominence here, that is the mylohyoid ridge, and slightly behind and below that you have a insertion of the medial pterygoid muscles. Okay, so this is where you have to palpate for the tenderness of medial pterygoid muscles. Okay, usually the muscles which are getting affected will be the lateral pterygoid and temporalis. So medial pterygoid will not be tender always, but still, if you want to clarify that, you have to palpate this aspect. Okay, because the insertion will be over the angle of the mandible. The insertion will be somewhat here, so you have to try to palpate this region. So you will be palpating like this. It will be slightly difficult. Patient might have a gag reflex, but if you do it slowly, you can palpate here. Here are some do's and don'ts for temporomandibular disorder patients. Never try to open the mouth forcefully for TMD patients, as you might worsen the condition or even tend to break the condylar head. Don't medicate the patient for a longer duration if the patient is not responding well, because all the medications can have lots of side effects on the patients, and the patients might even be addicted to the muscle relaxants. Avoid excessive mouth opening during any dental procedure for a longer period of time. Use mouth props whenever possible. Stabilize the jaw while extraction to avoid excessive force to the condylar head. If symptomatic, always treat the temporomandibular disorder before doing any dental procedure. Always take a radiograph and confirm the status of the condylar head before doing any treatment. Advise soft diet for the patient until the symptoms resolve. Consult a TMJ specialist for further management or whenever required. Thank you. I hope you like this video and it is informative. So kindly like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel.